Hey, business building warrior. Welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'll be your host today. I'll be bringing a guest on in just a moment, somebody that has recently jumped into our coaching program just a few months ago and has already built a beautiful business using the strategies taught in the Proven Amazon course. That's what this podcast is all about, by the way. If you're new around here, we have hundreds of interviews that are all episodes where we record the very real story of the students who've jumped into our training, and we talk about the results that they've achieved. Today's no exception. We've got Brendan Deanna jumping on here in just a moment. He is a firefighter and a real estate investor who has never done anything at all with e-commerce until recently. Back in, let's see, when did he start? February. So February of 2024 is when he started experimenting and kind of playing around with this. And then here we are in August, halfway through August of 2024, just a few months later, he's sold $30,000 at nice returns in his Amazon business, following the system we teach here. And today we just break it down, what he does, how he finds his inventory, what system he's using, the whole thing. And it's a replicatable business model. There's a few things you need to know. If you're new to this podcast, there's a couple things you need to know. This business is expanding faster than we can possibly keep up with it. More and more people are shopping online every day. More products are coming online every day. And the opportunities in Amazon's catalog are expanding every day for you just to go simply source products, everyday boring products, and sell them against the existing listings on Amazon. That's what our guest today is doing. That's what the hundreds of successful students you've heard on our podcast are doing. It's the entry-level business model into Amazon that's the lowest risk, lowest learning curve, lowest cost, highest odds of success business model anywhere on the internet that we're able to find. That's why we teach it. But we also talked today with our student, Brendan, about how he's starting to see new doors open already, just in a few months, because he's having conversations. And some of those opportunities are going to lead to even bigger results for his business. That's the track we want to put you on. Start with the basics, have conversations, build systems, maybe get a coach on our team, which, by the way, if you weren't aware of this, every coach on our team is someone who is actively running a very successful business doing the stuff we teach here. That's our coaching team, provenamazoncourse.com. That's the website, Proven Amazon Course students who've built a beautiful business. They have a teacher's heart. They have a few hours per week to put into helping you get where you're trying to go. Today, Brendan shares how he took advantage of that, and he's built a beautiful business as a result. We're very proud of the results that he's getting. And again, if you want to hear dozens of recent stories, hundreds over the past few years of people doing the exact same thing that he's talking about, well, you can hear those stories by scrolling back in time on our podcast. We're so glad you're here with us for this episode. I think it's going to be very encouraging to you, especially if you're new, maybe you're a little skeptical, maybe a little confused about e-commerce opportunities. We talk a lot about how to determine where the legitimate opportunities are in this episode. I think that's going to be very helpful for you. And then Brendan is just an everyday, normal guy, firefighter, real estate guy who started stepping into e-commerce, and he did it the right way. And he's built something amazing already. And the future is very bright. And I think you're going to love how much detail he shares as well about how he's doing it. So God bless you, business building warrior. Thank you for hanging out with us for today's episode. Let's jump over and spend some time with Brendan. You're going to love it. So Brendan, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too, Jim. Glad to be here.
Appreciate you doing this. And I'd like to jump right into your story if you're ready to go.
All set. So, I discovered e-commerce back in December of 23. So not too far long ago, and it started with, my dad kind of brought it up to me as an idea to look into selling on Amazon. I've always known about Amazon and third-party sellers, but never really looked into it. So he kind of sparked that fire to, hey, put the bug in my ear. And I went down the e-commerce rabbit hole of just searching, finding as much information as I can. And as you know, there's so much information and videos you can find on YouTube and other places. And I just kept seeing so many things that didn't seem right, just it just wasn't buying into all of it. The whole done for you stores and
Right.
all of that stuff that we all hear about.
You've got a good filter. Sounds like you come from an entrepreneurial family, at least a little bit, maybe.
We do. Yeah. So my father owns a real estate company, and I'm a realtor as well for the past 10 years. And I was a fireman as well for 15 years.
You deal with the people and deal with the public. Yeah. I've made this observation over the years. The people who have good, BS filters, for lack of a better phrase, maybe, you know, guys that own pawn shops, you can't run anything past them.
Yeah.
Realtors, small business owners, they deal with people, first responders, those like they can smell, something that's fishy from a mile away, right? A lot of people don't have those instincts. So they jump in like,
Right.
oh, you'll do it for me. All I have to do is give you a bunch of money. They don't know how to research or look into it or talk to other clients. So maybe now's a good time to just drop one of my favorite tips for anyone who's ever looking at any business opportunity, especially e-commerce. Find the community of people who are doing it successfully under the program that you're about to invest in. And if you can't find that community and hang out with them, don't jump in. That will keep you out of 99% of the
Yeah.
messes, because so few of them ideas actually have a community like that,
Right.
which is what
Yeah.
I'm assuming you kind of discovered with our group. I'll let you continue, but that's just a free nugget for whoever needed it today if they're listening.
No, I mean, you're 100% right, Jim. And that's what it was. Is it was just seeing so much, all this, skeptical business models, let's call it. And, I stumbled across Jimmy Smith's YouTube channel. Anybody in this community is probably going to know who Jimmy Smith is. On some YouTube channel. And once I found his videos, I was like, all right, I like what Jimmy has to say. It just seemed very genuine, very real. And I started watching a bunch of his videos, which then led me to your community and ultimately your coaching program, which is where I started. I had no experience selling on Amazon. And I knew that just like any business in my real estate business, I looked at anything as an investment in myself and in my business. And so when I started with Amazon, I said, I want to jump straight into coaching, to one-on-one coaching, because there's just so many mistakes and so many things that I can make. And I wanted to close that gap of mistakes. And I knew that if I did the coaching program, it would do that. So it was, I guess it was February. I had my calls with you guys, talking with you. And it was, I guess, about middle of February when I got rolling with one-on-one coaching. And I'm still in it now.
Yeah, of course.
So,
That's only 6-7 months ago or so that you kind of jumped in, discovered us, and started rocking. And we'll get to that part of the story. But I love how you
sure.
kind of capture one of your primary motivations for coaching, and that is avoiding mistakes. A lot of times people look at it through the lens of, what am I going to learn? Where's this going to take me? But once you factor in the very real cost of, what mistakes is this going to help me avoid?
Right.
Because if you just kind of piece it together, and we see people do it all the time. That's one of the reasons I call our community a burn unit for the industry. Hey, you're familiar with that, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of ways out there that you can just kind of stumble around and bump your head and stub your toe and get burned. And you come crawling into our community, and nothing we do here is expensive. We're experienced, we've been doing it a while, and we're like, that's okay. I'm sorry. I know you fell for that. Let's get you on a more stable path. But how much money and time and effort and energy and tears could you have saved just going with someone who knows what they're doing?
Yeah.
Because I'll give one little resource and I'll turn you loose again, Brendan. And inside of our Facebook group, there's a post we made. We kind of compiled I think it's about 15 really stupid things we see most new sellers do, a handful of them. And they're all expensive and potentially put your entire e-commerce career at risk. And we see all the new people who jump on YouTube and try to figure it out themselves. They make at least 5 or 6 of those mistakes. So if you go to silentjimdotcom/mistakes, you'll see that list. And one of the things coaching does, to get us back to our point, we're going to help you avoid all of those. Right. And
Exactly.
And then get you going in the right direction. So sorry to derail there, but you're really hitting some key points that I want to drive home, especially if there's a new listener. Like, man, doing it yourself, you're going to make some very pricey errors. It's inevitable.
Yeah. And I'll kind of quote my dad here and something he says to me, even when I, and I say it to other new realtors. I help train some new realtors as they come in, and it goes with any business, just like this Amazon business is, the coaching program. Well, that's an investment. And, you think an example, you open up a coffee shop. Well, how much thousands and thousands of dollars do you have tied up in this coffee shop before you even flip that open sign? And you don't know how business is going to be.
Right.
And that's the same way I treat my real estate career with investing in that. The same way I'm treating this Amazon is, hey, this is an investment in this business. This, for me, this isn't really like a side hustle. I'm trying to build this into something. And that's how I look at it is, I want coaching to do this the right way, learn the right way, and minimize those mistakes.
Exactly. So, yeah. And get you further faster. It's kind of the positive side of the equation.
Sure. Exactly.
Avoid all the potholes and blind curves that throw you off the road and go further faster. It just kind of straightens things out. I like the biblical reference. God's word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. Like coaching's kind of, when done the right way, it's like, okay, what are we going to do next? How are we going to avoid the mistakes? And where are we heading? Let's see the whole road out there and let's go as quick as we can down that road. That's what coaching is. It's not for everyone, but obviously you come at it from an entrepreneurial event.
Yeah.
Well done, man. Honored to have you.
Thank you.
Let's keep hearing the story though, man. I need to do less talking. I want to hear you talk.
Well, no, you're good. And, since you kind of mentioned that biblical reference there, Jim, one of the biggest reasons that drew me to your community is everybody's strong Christian values. And in January and even well before that, I was working on my faith and trying to be better. And, coming across your community, I felt like it was a sign, seeing Jimmy's videos. Jimmy's got his Biblical Leader podcast, listening to different podcasts from you that you do, and just a lot of biblical references and just everybody's strong Christian values.
Yeah.
You can take everything else out of it. But because of that reason right there was such a draw to me to come to this community because it felt right.
Well, it's a turnoff to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we hope that they come back around and listen at some point. And then for others, it really resonates. And not everyone on our team is a Christian, by the way. I mean, we've got a team of 100 leaders, and I'd say most of us are, but that's kind of irrelevant to me because as a Christian myself, I don't want to be just surrounded by people who think and believe like I do. I want the challenge of, rubbing shoulders with other people that I can ideally influence. And here's what I know as a Christian: everyone's going to need God at some point. I want to be the guy that's there if and when that time comes for people that I love and care about, right? But this very much is for many of us. We consider this our ministry, meaning bringing people closer to God is the ultimate core goal. Now we do that through the highest level, world-class excellence level business training.
Right.
But those relationships, and I can tell you this, man, if it works from a biblical perspective, it's something I've pulled from a biblical truth somewhere. I can tie everything we do back to a biblical principle.
Yeah.
Whether you subscribe to those principles or not yourself, you're going to benefit from these timeless truths and principles. But it just needs to be said. And here you go. You got me talking again, man. But that just does my heart good to hear that, that resonated with you, because ultimately a business journey is a leadership journey. And a leadership journey is, from my perspective, in my opinion, means becoming a better servant. And if you want the best servant training in the world, it's in the book, best-selling book in all of human history.
Yeah.
That's how you learn how to serve with excellence.
Absolutely.
There you go.
So like I said, it really did help me, this community helped me personally and professionally, and when I say personally, I mean in my faith and it helped me to come to my decision of getting baptized, which actually happened this past May.
That was you. I remember hearing that story. All right.
Yeah.
How cool is that, man? I love it.
Yeah, for sure. So thank you. Thank you for that. Thanks to you for doing this podcast to put those stories out there. And, like I said, when I started listening to all the podcasts, there's just so many tidbits throughout the pod. Like you got to listen from the start to the end, because you don't know where that little gold nugget's coming. It's coming somewhere. And there's just so many relatable things personally and professionally. And I'm just happy to be a part of this community.
Man, that's awesome, Brandon.
So
I'm going to reserve what I'd like to rant on next, and keep you rolling, dude.
Okay. Well,
I'm
cool.
loving your story, brother.
Well, cool.
Go ahead. It's so encouraging for me. What some of the listeners, and I'll say this very briefly, what some of the listeners may not realize is to the degree that they're benefiting from shows like this, I benefit too. Because a lot of my time spent just grinding, right?
Yeah,
Business is a grind. So to
for
hear
sure.
that it's having an impact and marriages and families and relationships are being restored, renewed, and people are living life that, man, it does me so much good. So I'm sitting back enjoying this. Keep going, man.
Well, good. Well, good. I mean, I guess that's like I said, that's kind of how I found the community, how I got started in e-commerce, started with coaching. Like I mentioned, I was a fireman for 15 years, a career fireman. We've got 2 young boys. My wife's a teacher, and I left the fire department almost 2 years ago. My real estate career, I do real estate full time. I've been doing that for close to 10 years. So I was always working 2 jobs. You know, most firemen work 24 hours on, 48 hours off, and we all have some other type of second job. So when I left the fire department, I was just doing real estate. I found myself, I had a lot of extra time. So it was a good thing my dad put the little, the little bug in my ear about Amazon, because it just got me back in the groove of doing 2 jobs, working 2 businesses. And it's been great since. So,
well, tell me how how is it going? What are you doing? And fill us in on your business a little bit. What's the journey been like coming in cold? So you did nothing e-commerce prior.
0. Yeah, no experience, no nothing. I mean, everything I know is from my 2 coaches and from this community. And business is going great. I feel like for where I'm at in this journey right now, I'm sitting around a little over 30,000 in total sales since March, which I feel like I'm doing great.
Here we are, mid-August. So for reference.
Yep. So it was, March, April, and May were just kind of, just ramping things up. And I would say around that 3rd month is when everything really started to gain momentum and click, and just kind of scaling it from there. I did hire my own part-time VA, which started in June. And that has even more so opened my eyes to what you can do with this Amazon. You always say, the first person to find, the first person to hire is to to go find somebody else to find the dollars, I think is what you mentioned.
Yeah.
And doing that, taking myself out of sourcing for the most part has helped tremendously. June and July are very busy months for my family with our 2 boys. We live in an area where we have a lot of people that visit us and vacation to where we are. So we are just jam-packed in the summer. And I spent minimal hours per week, June and July, just really sending in shipments on a weekly basis. And my business is growing. And I'm like, wow, okay. Like I really see how you can scale this to be automated and just see that whole business model. So I'm just looking forward to keep that train moving and keep going. So
I'm trying to put my mind in the mind of the listeners today who might be new to these concepts. People who have listened to dozens of episodes will kind of already know the answer to a couple of questions I'm going to give you here. But for someone who's newer, where are you finding your inventory? How are you deciding that it's a good test-worthy product to buy and send in? How many units are you buying? Just talk me through the reality of those first few months as a new proven Amazon course student in our coaching program.
Yeah. So, I mean, really inventory, I primarily do online arbitrage. I don't really do any retail arbitrage. So it's still a lot of the typical big box stores, the Walmarts, Home Depot, Lowe's, just different online retailers. So it's using Keepa. Keepa is a very, very powerful tool, as you always say and know. When I find a particular ASIN, I pay very close attention to my break-even cost over the past 90 days. And as long as that looks okay, I'll test it. And I don't go deep at all. I might send a couple units in, or, if it looks like it's very fast moving, I might send in maybe 10 units, but I really won't go past 10 units. And I'm actually in this point now of working with my coaches and and understanding my inventory better to say, okay, well, when can I pull the trigger to purchase more, to purchase more inventory? So that's what I'm really doing now is I'm seeing, okay, all this time that I spent in the first 3-4 months of all this hard work and hours of finding all these ASINs and building my catalog, and I'm reordering things. I'm okay, well, I sold those pretty quick. Let me go ahead and buy 15 of those, maybe 20 of those. So that's kind of where things are right now with a lot of reorders from inventory and then making new purchases. I never go too deep on the new purchases. I've dealt already with a handful of IP complaints. Have gotten those resolved without too many headaches, thanks to Jeff Schick. So does that kind of help?
That's great stuff. I mean, it's a story I've heard literally a few thousand times at this point, but just to hear someone new, and I love that you came in cold, you came in coachable, no background in e-commerce. You're just following the system. That's it. And you have $30,000 in sales so far. You're finding profitable products. You're building a system. And I can play out in my mind, having done this a number of times, the trajectory that you're on. You're a year or so from having, should you choose to do so, a couple virtual assistants, maybe your own warehouse, a couple guys there. And a 7-figure business is within reach, starts to become within reach a year or two from now, as you continue to scale, depending on your risk tolerance and what you put into the business. But it's just a phenomenal model, and you're experiencing that. It's a thrill for me to hear from yet another student that's following the system. I do want to dive a little bit more into the reality of how you decide what a good product is. You mentioned Keepa, and I'll say for the sake of the listeners today, go to podcast episode number 369 at silentjim.com/podcast. Click on the podcast button, silentjim.com. 369 tells you about Keepa, why we care so much, what it does that literally no other tool in the industry can do, even if it wanted to, because it scrapes its own data off Amazon. But how do you use Keepa to make a decision? Like, what is your process? Are you looking for sales and discounts? What is it you're doing when you hop on a website what is it that you're looking for? Your parameters. And this isn't necessarily the rule of thumb for everybody, but kind of where have you headed with this?
Yeah. A lot of it is starting out fairly basic on a Keepa search, using the category tree, looking in the categories that, I'm as a new seller already ungated in. And just like you say, and I hear a lot of people say, well, when am I going to get, ungated in this or that? And I'm seeing it now. The doors are opening up, just naturally opening up from more sales. I don't think I once submitted an invoice of 10 or so to get ungated in something. So I hear so many people ask that, and it's just make more sales, find ASINs in the categories that you can sell in and make more sales.
Right.
And that'll just naturally happen.
So no, I love where you just started. I asked you, because most people, their instinct is, okay, I got to go find stuff I can buy it at a low price and sell for more on Amazon. So they go to Walmart and they start scanning barcodes. Maybe they start in the clearance aisle.
Yeah.
Again, one of the mistakes that we see new people make, because they watched a couple of YouTube videos and they saw a guy with his kid in the shopping cart scanning barcodes and like, oh, look, I can buy this for 10 and sell it for 28 on Amazon. This is awesome. And they think that's what it means to have an Amazon reselling business. That's not where you just started your answer. It's almost a little test. You go to Keepa, you start with Keepa, and you filter through the categories that you're allowed to sell in. And you look for products that you're eligible to sell that have a good looking Keepa chart. Then you go see where you can source them, right?
Yeah.
You're looking for good ASINs. You're looking for test-worthy ASINs. You're not looking for winning products on the shelf. Your search takes you to the products eventually where you can get them retail or online. So I love that you've kind of been coached in that direction, because that's a big aha moment that sometimes it takes people a while to get to that point where they realize this isn't a matter of going to the store and scanning barcodes.
Right.
You're getting online and you're doing research starting with Keepa. And that's such a robust, powerful tool. So
it really is. Yeah. And I'll use different filters on the Keepa drops, the amount of FBA sellers, a lot of the examples you use as well. I love doing brand searches on Keepa. Any inventory that I'm selling that's selling well, I'll pop that brand in Keepa take it from there, and just uncover more products to keep building that catalog.
Yeah. So would you say you're pretty proficient at finding ASINs on Keepa? Like if I gave you a couple hours right now to go do some research and find some good winning ASINs, how many do you think you'd come up with?
Oh, I would definitely uncover a handful for sure. Yeah, definitely. And I don't chase discounts or coupons and things like that. Oh, well, this website has this sale, this website has that sale. If I'm sourcing and I find the inventory and that supplier has a discount, well, hey, that's just a little bit extra gravy on top. That's all. So I don't base the business on finding sales and chasing sales. If I'm in a store like Walmart or Target, hey, while the wife and kids are grocery shopping, I might peruse the clearance aisle real quick to see if there's something, but I don't make a habit of that the business model's not based on that either. So
of course. Yeah. And I don't like to walk past those $20 bills or even $5 bills. I'm happy to find ASINs that give me $5 net profit after everything's said and done. You're building, like you said, you're building a catalog.
Yeah.
And eventually that catalog is going to have, hundreds of ASINs.
Yeah.
You're replenishing as long as they're profitable. And if they stop being profitable for a time, you stop replenishing for a time and you monitor it. Speaking of which, have you checked out the system by any chance? Not to stack more onto you, but
currently using it.
Oh,
so I'm in the I guess it's the second beta group now.
Yeah, so second, third, whatever. Yeah. Okay. So for people who don't know, silentjim.com/the system. I had no idea that you were in there. So you're building your catalog using that program from the ground up. Okay. Yeah. That's awesome because I love our coaching program kind of pivoted to that here a few months ago, like new students who come in and say, hey, I'm a clean slate. I don't want to make any mistakes. I want to do it the right way. We've been popping them into the system to build your catalog so that, again, that reference that I made earlier, where you're going to have a couple virtual assistants and a couple wholesale guys or guys in your warehouse. That's what Kang built with this software. And now we're replicating that out to others. So with a very small staff and a couple of people doing research for your inventory, you can build out a robust business. And your job is to basically monitor the thing, right? Yeah. You're building a beautiful system, which is why we named it that, silentjim.com/the system. Yeah. So only coaching students have been let in so far, but we're going to be opening it up to more people soon. You do need to understand the replen system to take advantage of it, but talk me through that again. Excuse me. I didn't even know you were doing that.
Yeah. So
how's it going?
I built my catalog up to, I usually cover around 100 ASINs. I send in weekly shipments. The consistency for me is key to just keep that going. Because it's just, with all the check-in times, I want things, all my shipments being checked in at different times. And the system has significantly helped with, I use Inventory Lab as well. So when I can upload that to Inventory Lab to create my shipment, it cuts down on so much time, which helps out a lot. I've prep out of my garage. My wife will help me. Usually we do it in the evenings, pick them up, get the boxes out the next day. But the system has been great. In the beginning, I was very overwhelmed with it in the beginning. And I actually was thinking about backing out of it because, there's a lot of softwares and I felt like a ping pong ball. I was over here, over there, and I was like, I need to just refocus and get dialed in more. And Kang jumped on a one-on-one call with me, and so thankful that he did because I'm still currently using the system, and he was able to just walk me through, and I was just able to understand it better and see the true value in that from the purchase orders, keeping track of everything. The whole bookkeeping aspect of it is worth it alone. Forget about everything else the benefits it can do. Just from a bookkeeping standpoint, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Especially when you get those IP complaints, and come tax time, turn things over to the accountant, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It really is. We're trying to build the tool that replaces so many other tools because most sellers of any success level in our community at all kind of have a Frankenstein system. And this tool is going to replace a whole lot of the little moving pieces of other software. Definitely get rid of all your spreadsheets and Yeah. So
Yeah.
fantastic. I'm thrilled that you're in there having a good experience with it. And yeah, I think it's going to change a lot of people's lives. It's the first time that we've ever seen the replens system that we
Mhm.
teach around here, the basic level Amazon seller training, completely systemized. It's a complete workflow from start to finish. And even you mentioned using other tools to help you with your shipment. That's coming. Like all that's going to be under one roof.
And that's great. Yeah. I mean, I'm looking forward to all of that because I'm still new. I'm still learning, even though I have a growing business, I'm still working through things and understanding things. So the system is a nice part of it.
Yeah,
So
I love to hear it. I'm encouraged too that within a very short period of time, you feel very proficient in finding winning test-worthy ASINs. Well, you got a catalog of 100. Soon that'll be a few hundred.
yeah,
Just you can start to play out in your mind. Wow, okay, no part of this is complex. No single part of it's complex. It's a lot of little moving parts, but once I get this thing systemized,
right.
I can kind of step back and this is a machine, man. So you're
Yeah,
well on your way, dude. You've got the right attitude, the right approach.
yeah,
I love it. Well,
for sure.
what else is on your mind that you want to share or bring some value to the listeners, or any questions for me as you're kind of working through this new routine and
Yeah.
about anywhere you
I
want to
think,
go?
when I first started and I started listening to a lot of your podcasts, it's great that you have the big sellers on the podcast, which is nice to listen to. But I found so much value in listening to podcasts like this. And hopefully somebody can find some value in this for the new guys. I'm no expert. I'm still learning. So, that was really nice to be able to listen to different podcasts of people that are in my shoes, to just hear different struggles and different successes that they've had. So it's been good. I'm at a point now where I have such a good understanding of online arbitrage and then I'm seeing is that even with June and July, stepping back from sourcing and freeing up more time, I'm saying, okay, how that can turn into such a bigger business and scale. So I'm at a point where I've been researching and learning a lot more about wholesale and contacting different suppliers, distributors, and that's kind of down the rabbit hole I'm headed next before the end of the year. So
Yeah, those doors start to open up to you, and you can certainly stay right at the retail arbitrage level and do well.
yeah,
But the relationships, I love that you opened that door.
yeah,
That really is the key to the next levels of this business. You mentioned earlier, you have a brand and it's doing well for you. So you search on Keepa, you find where else that brand is showing up and you check out the products. You start to kind of understand that brand. Possibly a lot of the mid-tier, there's tens of thousands of these brands in that mid-tier level. You can start to understand that brand and how it's operating on Amazon better than the brand knows.
mhm,
And you can
yeah,
spot opportunity better than that brand can. You can approach them and say, hey, win-win scenario, win-win proposition for you here. Can't lose proposition. I want to help you sell more of your stuff on Amazon. I think I'm the right guy to do it. I've been doing it for a while, but here's what you're missing. Here's how I think you could improve your presence. Here's an opportunity for a bundle. Here's an opportunity to take on your competitors. I can get you on the Walmart, by the way, right? So you
yeah,
start having those little conversations and you start building a book of business that's not relying on just your Amazon account. Suddenly you got brands you're consulting with and helping them grow. Uh, so yeah, the doors of opportunity are behind on the other side of conversations,
for sure.
right?
Yeah, I agree. I was talking with one of my coaches just the other day. I was at a local retail shop in my area. I was actually there buying something for myself, buying a new set of skis for the upcoming winter, and noticed all this leftover equipment and accessories and different things. And I talked to the owner. I said, you know what? I might be able to take some of this off your hands.
Mm.
So I sat down with the owner for a while, talked about it. He's all about it and on board with it.
Beautiful.
And it turns out that he has another business that he has a whole warehouse full of different inventory. And I actually have a meeting set up with him next week for him to take me there. And he said there should be other products that he has that I would probably be interested in as well. So I'm all about making those connections and having those conversations with people to grow the business.
You just made a very profound observation about this industry. The simple conversations. It's not like it took you years to get to this point either.
Mhm.
You're just a few months in and you're having confident conversations saying, yeah, I sell on Amazon. He didn't grill you and go, well, do you have a degree from a university in e-commerce? How many millions have you sold? No, he's just like, oh, really? You can help me sell this stuff? Yeah, let's have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
Right. It's such an easy thing. The world needs, in general, businesses out there need, if they sell physical products, they need the skills we have in this community. Just a few weeks in, and you've already outpaced where they are. And you can have these conversations. And the nice thing about it is, too, Brendan, I say this to you and to anyone who's listening, like, well, I don't want to get in over my head. Get in over your head because you've got a community backing you up that's seen it all. Worst case scenario is you flip it to someone slightly more experienced and you get a finder's fee, right? But have the conversations. You know how to sell things online. You know how to sell on Amazon. They don't. That's a valuable. I mean, they see the Amazon trucks everywhere. They see the deliveries on their own front porch every day. They know something big is happening here, but they don't know how it works. You do. And you're in a community of people that does. And they don't want to take the time to learn it. They need someone who does know it, though. That's you.
Exactly.
Yeah, those opportunities are so abundant if you'll have conversations, which is why we say don't go into your retail stores with your hoodie pulled up and your sunglasses on and your head down, your earbuds in, scanning. That's not how you win. You win going in looking like a professional, putting the shopping cart back, having a conversation with the manager. Hey, I want to bounce something off of you real quick, right? Shake their hand, introduce yourself. I sell online. Worst they can say is, yeah, really got nothing for you now, but yeah, call you, maybe check in with me in a couple months. We may have some clearance on our winter stuff or whatever, like that's the worst case scenario. So I love it, man.
Yeah.
Your instincts are spot on.
It went great. And yeah, he was all ears about it. And I said, look, I can't promise I can take everything off your hands.
Right.
But I said, let me spend some time to go through because, anything that's left over, well, it's just clogging up space in his retail shop. So he's like, hey, if I can move this and get this stuff out, he's like, take it. So I said, I'll go through. I can make a list. And I made a list of what makes sense for me to purchase and what doesn't make sense. So I'm looking forward to building that relationship as well.
That's beautiful. Yeah, you're going to do so great. I love episodes like this because you're just illustrating. Sometimes I'm frustrated. I'll talk with people like, well, I've been trying for 4 weeks and I haven't found anything. You're not doing it the right way. You're just not. You're not listening to the Proven Amazon course training. You're going to stores and scanning barcodes and saying everything's cheaper at Walmart. You're not doing it the right way. If that's the impression you have of this business, you start with Keepa. So I got to imagine when you went home from talking to that guy, you had the list of products. You went to Keepa to see, you go to Amazon, you go to Keepa.
Yeah.
Let's look at the history and stuff. Let's see if I got any, golden nuggets in here.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I did. I made a whole Google sheet of all the items that it was. And then I basically looked at the history and I put on the Google sheet what my buy cost would need to be for this to make sense so that I can give him that Excel sheet and say, here you go. Like, this is what I can take. This is what my buy cost needs to be for this to make sense, which I think a lot of it is going to work for both of us. So
I've had real estate guys on the show before as interviews on the podcast. And one of them made the observation a while back that really selling on Amazon with this system is the same as real estate. You're buying and flipping faster and you're putting a lot less money in when you buy, right? But he said the ROI is insane. Because real estate guys are used to talking ROI.
Yeah.
He said they are because you can flip that same money multiple times in the same year. And he started doing the math in a way that I rarely even take time to think about. He's like, if you're flipping your money multiple times in a year on these 30 to 50% ROI products, think of them as little houses. Sometimes I think it was like little monopoly houses, they're not real houses people live in. They're little monopoly houses. But you're flipping them for this 30 to 40% or 50 or even 100% ROI. Sometimes it takes a few weeks. Sometimes it takes a couple months, but you're flipping it multiple times per year.
Yeah.
That can compound quickly. Have you kind of thought of the business through that lens yet?
I think I have, and I had a question. I guess, if I can backtrack just a question about some of the inventory I did look at. When I look at the history, a lot of it's winter accessories, winter clothing and things like that. So obviously right now, sales rank and data doesn't look that great. But when I look at the history from say October to February, I mean, it's phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I'm hesitant about with some of it is that product going to bounce back come this winter? Or am I going to maybe have to try to flip this and sell this inventory on a different marketplace?
Good question. And you'll get a few different answers from different folks. And that's where you'll start to develop some instincts too. Some brands bounce every year. And that's what I love about Keepa is you can go back several years.
Mm-hmm.
If it's bounced each of the past 2 or 3 years, odds are it's going to bounce again this year.
Okay.
If all you know is it bounced up once last year and did well, that's a bit more of a coin toss, man. I wouldn't rely on what happened last year happening again this year.
Right.
With clothes and brands and fashion, especially female fashion, dudes. Like that's walking the gauntlet there. You just never know what's cool, what's not going to be cool anymore. Last time I looked, Stanleys were cool, and I looked over my shoulder again, and my daughter-in-laws and wife don't have them anymore. I'm like, what happened to Stanleys, man? Like, I can't keep up, right? So you got to be cautious there. But like on toys, if it's had a couple years of a bounce, it's probably going to bounce again pretty consistently. Legos, absolutely very consistent. But you get into clothing, anything that has fashion, so that means that's kind of a non-answer, but proceed with caution.
Yeah. And that's what I think I was doing. The brands are very, very large brands. So it has that brand recognition, which I think makes me feel more comfortable about it. Yeah. But I told him too, I brought my laptop to his store and I said, look, here's the history. I kind of showed him things and explained things. And I said, I'm also taking a little bit of a calculated risk here because I'm banking on hoping that this product bounces back. If it doesn't, well, hey, I can't come back and give this back to you. So I'm either stuck with it or I've got to sell it on a different platform or something. So,
and some of those questionable ones too, you could do, I wouldn't do this for hundreds of listings, but a handful of the more expensive items, just do a consignment. I'll list them. If they sell, here's what you get. Here's what I get. If they don't sell, they're still sitting in your shop. You're no worse for the wear. You still got the inventory.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's not bad. I didn't even think of it from that side. That's a good idea.
On some of the higher end stuff, I wouldn't get into the nickel and dime stuff without arrangement because it gets hard to track. Scale into it. Grab the low hanging fruit first. If he's got $300, $400, $500 items, do a handful of those and see how they pop, and then basically share after expenses. Share the fruit, your time included, all expenses calculated. He gets 50, you get 50. Everybody's happy. Sold another unit today. And just the thing you have to do if you start doing that is this, consignment where it gets dangerous is if he sells it to somebody else while he's waiting on you to sell it. Oh man, I forgot you had that on Amazon.
Yeah.
I just sold 6 of those to Eddie down the street. I've got a waiting customer, man. So that's the caution I would give you if you get into that model is make sure that stuff's locked down. And if it does sell, he tells you immediately so you can pull it down. Like, don't sell it until I've pulled it down. Because if you have 2 buyers, Amazon's going to punish you very quickly. That's why we say all the time, the drop shipping model is just a disaster waiting to happen because it's kind of almost like a consignment model. When the product sells, I'll go and say, hey, made a sale, time to ship. Well, what if they've run out in the meantime? Amazon does not like that. They have a very short temper when it comes to selling stuff that doesn't exist. For the shopper, they will not.
For sure.
Right. So just a little word of caution, but there's opportunity there.
Yeah, no, I definitely like that perspective of it. And I mean, really, he even mentioned that he'd be open to me placing an order through him with his suppliers and his distributors. So, I mean, that guy could potentially open up some doors there as well with different brands.
Yep. I've done that. And that gets you access to some great catalogs. I own a franchise for a hardware store without a physical location.
Okay. I think I've heard that in one of the other
their catalogs.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Just to get access to the catalog. So they negotiated a deal and it was an interesting proposal. And I guess more people are starting to talk to him about this, but yeah, access to the catalog is all you really need. So through him or, I think that's a great way to do it is just keep it all through him if you possibly can. So when the truck comes, here's all your stuff on the side and right. Great conversation, man. Great insights I think it's going to encourage and inspire a lot of folks as well. One thing we neglected to mention earlier on in the episode, when you mentioned numbers, I've got to just be thorough about what is your net margins right now? If you happen to know, give me an approximation.
I'd say in between like 13, 14% roughly. So, software, rev seller, I'm using Youre for my repricer, which I absolutely love. I have Jeff Schick, which has already been worth it with some of the IP complaints.
Right.
Inventory Lab, Keepa. I think that about covered, and the system. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
You're killing it though, man. You're at that point where you've got proof of concept and it's an exciting thing and you can kind of start to see the future and the potential of this. Well done.
Sure.
I love it.
I'm looking forward to growing it, and I've got my foot on the gas, and I don't plan on letting off anytime soon. So
Beautiful. Well, we'd love to see you at our conference in Orlando in May.
I was there this past year.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
It was
what'd you
great.
think?
So, that's the thing. I kind of debated on going or not going, and I said, you know what, I'm brand new into Amazon, and had the opportunity and time to go this past year. I said, I will get so much more value out of it this year and every year. But I said, I'll do. Why wait a whole nother year, a year and a half until I can go again? So I went, and it was great to just meet other people that I've been talking with in the community. It was great. Great experience all around.
Awesome. Well, glad you were able to make it. Yeah, we're pretty proud of that event, and it's turned into the longest running Amazon seller conference in the world. Somehow that happened because we just keep doing it. But yeah, the next one is in May of 2025. Theprovenconference.com has details if someone's interested in it. But yeah, I love that you were able to come and experience it. It really is a pivotal moment for a lot of people to just be surrounded with the validation of, well, look at all these people who are doing it. This is how these people have built their businesses and again, the relationships. So
Exactly.
well, Brendan, I could spend a whole lot more time hanging out with you. I feel encouraged. It's inspirational for me to see new sellers hopping up and doing it and following the steps, and it works. I love it, man. That's what we do here. But I do have another appointment coming up at me pretty fast here. But man, it's been a pleasure hanging out with you. Was there anything else you wanted to cover before we go? I do have a couple more moments, but I think we put together a great episode.
Yeah, I think that was great, Jim. Thank you for having me on here. It's a little surreal for myself. Just a short while ago was watching other people on the podcast, and now here I am. So it was great. Thank you for having me.
You did the work, man. You more than earned the respect and admiration of our team. And you're going to have a lot of people, I think, in the community going, wow, okay, yeah, that guy resonates with me. I can say something 50 times and they hear it once from someone that they can relate to. Like, oh, wait, that guy's never done e-commerce. Oh, he was a fireman, or, something about your story. You're like, oh, he got a closer walk with God because of his business. Never thought of that before. But you got people reach out to you, and your story is going to resonate more than me, I could ever do it. So that's why we do these interviews, even though, on paper, the numbers look a lot like hundreds of other stories, but very unique situation, your background, what you've accomplished and the amount of time you did it, a lot to appeal. I think you're going to have a good handful of people reaching out to you saying, hey man, that was awesome. So thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah. So we talked to the listeners. We'll wrap this thing up. It's been great hanging out with you today. Thanks for hanging out with Brendan and I as we dove into his story. I hope you're inspired. I know I am. Every single time I do these interviews with students, there's something inside of me it's validating, because we put a lot of hard work into the free resources, the Facebook group, these podcast episodes, the team that we support and doing all these things. But then to hear these success stories pop up, man, that's our payday around here. So hopefully you feel encouraged and inspired as I do today as a listener. If you want to hear hundreds of stories like this about proven Amazon course students who have either just taken our course or gone through our coaching as well and built beautiful businesses, this is the podcast to do it. Just scroll back in time. You'll see a bunch of those episodes. Get into our Facebook group if you're not in there yet. We've got about 76,000 members as I'm recording this, completely free. It's at silentjimdotcom. There's a link to all that stuff. Hop over there. And on behalf of the entire team that puts these episodes together, thank you so much for your time today. It was a great gift you gave us, some of your time. And Brendan, you especially as well, man. Thank you so much. And tell your family thanks for us, okay?
Of course.
And
thank you.
To all the business building warriors, God bless you. We'll have another great episode for you very soon. We'll talk to you then. Hey, business building warrior. Before I let you go today, I've got an interview. It's a short segment with Joel Beyer and one of the great coaches and leaders in our community, Abe McMahon, talking about the services of Ford Financial Group. Now, I've had these guys as a sponsor at our last event. Joel was a sponsor. But the cool thing is, a lot of people are using his services now and reporting great results. That's what we're going to talk about today. And what they do is they help you get out of debt as fast as possible. You can put a date on the calendar and circle it and go, that's the date where we're completely free from debt if we stick to the plan that Joel helps you build. And he has investment advice as well and another side of his business. But the thing we're going to talk about and focus on today is, man, let's get you out of debt so you can have your money working for you instead of the other way around. It's not something we've talked about a lot around here, but this is a very valuable service that a lot of people need. And we got some really cool stories that we're going to share with you in just a minute. If this resonates with you, what you're about to hear, go to this website, silentjim.com/Joel, Joel. That's Joel Beyer, who you're about to meet. silentjim.com/Joel. You're going to hear Abe's story today briefly. You're going to hear Joel share a couple success stories of what he's able to do. Getting out of debt isn't just a matter of grinding until it happens someday. If you have a plan and you have a date on the calendar and you stick to the plan, it's a very freeing thing. And you're going to hear that in just a moment. And I'm excited to bring to you one of the great sponsors of our community. You can come meet them, meet Joel at the next conference as well. If you don't have these dates circled in 2025 yet, you need to do this. Go to theprovenconference.com. You'll start to see details taking shape on our May of 2025 event. The last 3 days of May 2025 are when we're going to gather again in Orlando, Florida. Hundreds of us. We had over 700, almost 800 of us gathered last May 2024. We're doing it again, May of 2025. The 29th, 30th, and 31st of May. We're going to gather in Orlando, Florida, and we'd love to have you there. Come meet Joel. He's one of the great sponsors of the event with Forward Financial Group. Let's get Joel and Abe on the line right now and have a great conversation with those guys. You're going to like this. So Joel, welcome back to Silent Sales Machine Radio, man. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Jim. Good to be here.
Yeah, you're a great sponsor, like I said in the intro of our community. You're doing some good work, and let's tell a few of those stories, man. Tell us a little bit about Forward Financial Group.
Yeah, so Forward Financial Group, we were started over 40 years ago. At least the founder started doing this kind of business over 40 years ago, been incorporated as Forward Financial for over 30 years. But started with an idea that there's a lot of people that are really in debt and need to get out. And so he was, in the insurance industry, and he was gathering data sheets. And one client he went to, he said they were obviously not a great fit because they were negative budget. But he said, there's got to be something I can do for him. So he went back and used his financial calculator and crunched the numbers, and actually was surprised to find out that they could be fully debt-free in 6 years. And so he went back and, kind of did a slow reveal, like line upon line, here's what we can do to free up some cash and use that towards your budget. And when he showed them that they could be fully debt-free in less than 7 years, it was like they'd won the publisher clearinghouse. They were standing up, giving him a hug, like, wow, this is amazing, tears, all that kind of stuff. And he goes, wow, this is a business. If I could figure out how to monetize it, that'd be great. So basically the whole company was founded on, let's do debt plans for free for people at no cost. And then our founder went on to find out that there's ways that we could actually refer some business. If we ever replaced something that somebody had or did something like that, we could get a referral fee from a vendor. And so that way it's free to the customer, but then it's sustainable as a business. And so for that long, he's been doing this. And so I joined Forward Financial Group because I'd been a leader in my local church. We had done Dave Ramsey stuff at our church. I'd helped a lot of people with debt plans. So it was something I was already into and doing. But when I saw that this could become a business more than just something I did on the side, in my free time for no pay, I was like, hey, let's hop in here and do this. And so since doing this, since starting with the company, we've helped a bunch of people get out of debt, secure their investments, and build wealth, or at least start on the path to building wealth. And so that's pretty much what Forward Financial does.
Yeah. And when you approach this about sponsoring the community, it certainly helped. My favorite sponsors for this community and the podcast are people who have Amazon businesses, or they're e-commerce warriors. They've been part of our community. They've built something. And oh, by the way, they've got a service now that's valuable to the rest of us. Those kind of like add-on value services and business models. That's what a lot of our sponsors are, including you. And you got to guess what you'd say. For those who are just listening, they may not even know that Abe's here. He is. If you're watching on YouTube, you see him. But he's actually a great coach on our team, a great leader in our community. He's built a robust business and team. He's been on the podcast before. He'll be on it again. But he's actually a client of yours as well. And let's hear a little bit of his story, however you guys want to handle this.
Yeah, go ahead, Abe.
Yeah, so about a year ago, a little over a year, I was talking to Joel and he was getting involved with Forward Financial. And I'd asked him just a few things, what intrigued him about it. So he gave me some material about what he does and what it does. And I knew I was in debt. I not only had business debt, but I also had personal debt. And anybody that tells you they're not in debt and they still make house payments, they're still in debt. So I still was making house payments. And of course, didn't have a tremendous amount of debt except for my house, which was quite a bit. But that was the only one big debt the bogey that I wanted to get rid of. And not to mention, I had some SBA loans that I wanted to get rid of and some other things that I was using to funnel, money into my business to buy inventory. And I really just wanted to get out of it. And so, having read a bunch of the material that Joel gave me, I said, I want to get involved in this and I want to get out of debt. And so did a number of things with Joel, and a lot of it was also faith-based. So there's a lot of faith involved in it too. So, and as a Christian, that was very important to me. So as we talked through and discussed a bunch of these things and strategized, I was able to pay off my house actually by the end of the year. And in addition to that, get rid of all my business debt. So, just through some encouragement through him, some of the other material that he gave me was a huge motivation for me to just, okay, I need to take this plunge, and to the point where I don't need to worry about it because, there was this well, maybe I should protect or wait for this last minute thing or, that thing. And he just kept reminding me, hey, debt it holds you back. You don't have the freedom you want when you're in debt. And so just followed a bunch of those steps, and it's amazing. I mean, I'm completely cash based in my business now, no loans, so it's a great feeling.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. And you're someone that those who've been in the community for a while, they recognize and know you. You've been on stage, spoke at our events, and helped us create great content over the years and things. So to have leaders on our team on board with something like this means a lot to me. It really moved the needle. And then the fact, again, like I already said, Joel's been in our community as a seller for a while. So just love having great sponsors like this. So Joel, I know you've worked with a good handful of other people too. You're seeing some results from our community. Because you just came on as a sponsor here this last conference, right, in May. And I know you got a good handful of people you've been working with. Like, how's that going? Just kind of recap for me briefly, if you could. Some of the other people you work.
Sure. So at the conference, 28 people gave me their information and said, please follow up with me. So I've done that multiple times. About a third of them have completed a plan with me. And just a few, just like a handful here, I could give you a few ideas. There was a pastor I met with who had almost $98,000 in debt. He didn't have a house payment because he was living in the home provided by the church. But he didn't, what we try to do is we try to find a fragment that we can use, something that's already in your budget. We're not telling you to go get a second job. We're not telling you to stop drinking coffee. We're trying to find money that you have that we can use better to pay off your debt. And so we found $1,300, $1,352 actually, that he could use in his budget that he was already spending. And what he was doing is he was making a little bit extra payments on everything. Instead of just the minimums, he was paying a little bit extra on this one and a little extra on this one. And I said, all right, here's what we got to do. Stop paying the extras on everything and focus. First, we're going to fund an emergency account. Then we're going to pay off a small debt with a higher interest rate. Then we're going to use that payment that you were making on that one and roll it into the next one. And that whole thing, he came to me, he didn't know how long it was going to take. He thought, I'll probably have this forever. Because every time he would pay down some debt, he would use it again. He would use that credit line. We got him following this plan, fully debt free in 2.5 years. I just checked with him yesterday. He said he's in his second month in the plan and he's following it to the T. And because we were talking about finding fragments, he has actually found some additional things he can do. He lives in the southern states. He has moss that grows on his trees out back. He can pull that off of his trees and sell it online for about $500 a month. And that was just a revenue opportunity that opened up when he started looking for it. And so now that's going to make his plan go even faster than he originally thought. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's not just about, tackling the debt necessarily. You come at this from a creative business building warrior. You've been in our community, e-commerce strategy kind of guy. So you can speak to maybe increasing the income as well with some creative thoughts. I love the wasps where I had no idea those are worth any money.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh, it was moss.
Oh, moss.
So moss off of his trees. Yeah.
I think you said wasps. Okay, I'm glad I correct you. Okay, moss. Okay,
Spanish.
That makes a little more sense to me. We just kill wasps here.
I love it, man.
Maybe one other
That's
story,
hilarious.
man, one other highlight story to kind of give people an idea of what you've been up to with the community.
Sure, sure. So one more thing about this guy, he just said, "Hey, look, I'm not sure we're going to be able to do anything together, but I mean, I can follow the plan." He ended up referring 5 or 6 people to me,
Nice.
and so it's just a matter of the more plans we do, the more we're going to find. One, Abe actually said, "Hey, why don't you talk to my employee?" And this is one thing we can do for business owners as well. It's kind of like a no cost to you benefits program for your business. Every employee wants to make more money and they want to have more money in their net cash flow. And so without you giving them a raise, if I help them to get out of debt and they no longer have those payments, now it increased their bottom line. And so it's like a no cost employee benefit. I talked to one of Abe's employees and we found $300 or identified it in his budget. And he wasn't sure how long it would take to get out, but we were able to put a date on the calendar that it would be 3.58 years. It was 43 months. It was going to save him $3,400 in interest. And if he then took that money that he was paying in debt and applied it to investments, by the time he's 65, he'll have anywhere between $1 million and $5 million in his investment account with money that was already in his budget.
That's phenomenal, man. It sounds like you've got a real gift for it. A lot of the entrepreneurs I know, myself included, I spend way more time thinking about how to put more hoses in the bathtub, right? Versus plugging the leaks in the bottom. And you sound like the kind of guy that doesn't mind crawling down under there and going, hey, if we fix this leak, you do realize we could have 4 more bathtubs full of opportunity, within 1.7 years or whatever. Like most of us never think about our money that way. So I think
Right.
you've got a real gift, man. And the fact that you've been serving this community and you've been a part of this community and you're starting to see the results, that speaks very highly for what you're building. And I think we're going to fill your calendar up with some people who want to have a good chat with you, man. So the link we set up is silentjim.com/Joel. I mentioned it in the introduction as well, but that's silentjim.com/Joel. This is Joel Beyer, our guest today, along with Abe McMahon, one of the great leaders on our team. But any final thoughts as we start to wrap this one up? I think you're going to have some people wanting to talk to you when this episode goes out. Eager to help make that happen, man. And we're going to see you at our next conference in May as well. You said in 2025, right? As a sponsor again. So be sure to come to that. theprovenconference.com is the website for that. The Proven Conference. But yeah, any final words from either or both of you? And before we wrap this one up?
I do have one more thing. One sad thing that I noticed at the conference, there was somebody that came to me and said, "Hey, my partner and I, we have $100,000 in business debt and we'd really like to get out." And I said, "Well, so what have you been doing?" He goes, "We've been using our business debt to buy inventory and then pay ourselves." So how much inventory do you have? $30,000. So they're in a difficult spot. And that broke my heart. And I'm like, there's got to be people like this that need help. And that's really why I'm sponsoring this group, because I have a heart for business building warriors. And if somebody's got into some problems, maybe they don't want to talk about it to somebody they know, but they can talk about it to me and I'll try to help you get out.
Yeah, confidential conversation with someone who knows, a fellow believer for those of us who find significance in that as well. You've proven yourself. You got a great track record around here, man. And if you got Abe McMahon speaking highly of you, dude, I'm a fan. I love and trust this brother. So yeah, what about you, Abe? Any parting thoughts before we bounce?
Yeah, just one comment that, when you fix debt or fix the money thing, a whole lot else gets better. So you're not weighed down with that pressure. And I know from the guy that works for me, he's walking around a little bit lighter, knowing that he's got a plan of attack. I mean, most people, I don't think they have a plan. They're like, well, we're just going to grind until it's done. And now that there's an end in sight, it brings a whole nother level of positivity.
Yeah. Hey, the scripture that's popping in my head right now is where there's no vision, the people perish. You're kind of giving them a vision. Like, here's that point in time. Here's that goal. On the other side of that day, if we stick to the plan, you're debt free, man. And most people don't have that date. They just don't. And that's something you can give them. And you're not charging anything for that conversation to get that ball rolling. So I love it, man. Beautiful service. And God bless you guys, man. Great hanging out with you today. Appreciate your time. That link again, if you want to get on Joel's calendar, is silentjim.com/Joel. Go have a conversation with him about where you're at and put a date on the calendar, man. It sounds like that's kind of one of the big things you can do for folks. Like, hey, when can I get out from underneath this? As soon as possible, right? So I love it. All right. Good job, guys. We'll talk to you again. Thanks for being guests today.
Thanks, Jim.
Bye for now.
Thank you.